Hi, I'm a 23-year-old who still fucks with Thomas the Tank Engine. In all honesty, just seasons 1 through 7 though. I never got into the good CGI seasons. I know a little bit of the hit era when I was a small child, but seasons 1 through 7 are what I know and love. Something about this show has made it stick with me my entire life, and it still never gets old. Maybe it's the length of every episode, the characters, the world building, actually developing its characters throughout several seasons, and also how the show treats its audience with respect, at least before season 7. There's a lot to love about this show, and I'm going to arbitrarily rank every episode from seasons 1 through 7. I say arbitrarily because most of this list is interchangeable. At the end of the day, who cares, man? Rankings are loose, and I'm not rating these episodes from 1 to 10. Fuck that. Also, if you're a kid, probably don't watch this. I say fuck and shit and swear a lot. I'm going to probably piss off a lot of die-hard adult Thomas fans with some of the placements in this rank. So let's just establish now. 1, it's not that deep. This is all for fun. 2, you're probably right. I got some funny takes in here that'll probably make you seethe. 3, I have some really predictable takes in here as well. So I argue it all evens out. Anyways, let's get started. Some of these are going to go by pretty damn fast. The Old Bridge. Someone has to be last. They really butcher Scarloey. I feel like Vito Corleone in The Godfather every time I see this episode. Scarloey deserved so much better. Rheneas and the roller coaster. Same feelings apply. They absolutely butchered my boy here. Signs of what's to come. Emily's new coaches. I don't really mind Emily all too much, but like goddamn, the storyline of Thomas being jealous has been so overdone. Just watch Thomas and Stepney, dude. Thomas doesn't need to always revert to his ways as an easily jealous asshole. Peace and quiet. Murdoch's design is sick, but also, like, I don't know why we focused an episode on him, aside from making a toy out of him. Salty and Harvey are especially lame in this as well. Best Dressed Engine. This probably would have been good if it was a season 1 episode. Hooray for Thomas. Okay, so I'm gonna be real. I completely forgot to have this episode on my original list. I don't know how I missed this one because it's also the last episode in the original series. But I also do know why I didn't put it in here because I just don't care about it at all. The Grand Opening. Proto-hit era episode. Skip it. Who gives a fuck about this one, seriously? Gordon and the Gremlins. Literally nothing in this episode happens. Funny dog named Gremlin and funny Sir Topham Hatt mother twist.
Well, after today's events, I think I'll rename him Gremlin.
Thomas and the Rumors. Insane how a season as good as season 5 can have episodes this bad. Not even mid, this episode literally accomplishes nothing.
Counting sheep, paw.
You might as well watch Naruto filler arcs and try and convince people how they are canon. It's so lame seeing an episode like this in season 5 after doing the message of dieselization already so well and focused in previous seasons. Replacing that with just Harold is just so overwhelming and forgettable. What's the matter with Henry? Thomas and Percy losing all their character development to be dicks to Henry, who has also reverted back to being a sick fat fuck.
My boiler's grumbling.
So annoying when after several seasons of development, these amazing characters get regressed back. Make someone happy. Happy, wholesome, maybe a little cute. I don't know, maybe this episode is good, but like seriously not up my alley. The Runaway Elephant. As a huge fan of my Jit Duncan, it's upsetting to have to put an episode featuring him this low. Having a character like Duncan in the series to establish that steam engines can also be total pricks is great. Harold and the Flying Horse. What I love about Thomas is how rewatchable it is. I have probably seen this episode twice in my life. Bill, Ben, and Fergus. The intense shove for morals and verbally explaining the morals of the story in later episodes is obnoxious.
From now on, we can all do it right together.
Also, Fergus is such a tool. Like, I would not fuck with this guy if I had to work with him either. He deserved everything that came to him. Bill and Ben supremacy. Rusty saves the day. Famously awful for retconning all the beautiful world building and storytelling of the Scarloey Railway. If you watch this, consider it not canon. Salty Whistles. Probably one of the most forgettable episodes ever made, if I had to guess. Also just really annoying whistle sound design. Maybe there's a reason this show is meant for children. Huh. Buffer Bother. Remember when I said Bill and Ben supremacy? Just aside from this episode.
It's not fair, Bill huffed, and he wheeshed soot all over Mavis. Bill!
Elizabeth the Vintage Quarry Truck. A perfect example of a nothing episode. Just the introduction of a character who contributes literally nothing to the series. A perfect example of a mid-season 6 episode. Thomas Percy and the Squeak. As an avid fan of annoying sounds and annoying shit, this does not pass. The Refreshment Lady Stand. Just watch season 4 Peter Sam episodes. What the fuck? Edward, Trevor, and the Really Useful Party. Alright, I'm gonna just lay it out to you right now, y'all. I'm gonna lay it out to you. Season 3 is mid. I'm sorry, y'all. Second to last after season 7 too, man. I just don't get down with season 3. This episode is so lame. Edward and Trevor are great characters, but like, why not just watch season 2? This episode just doesn't add much to their dynamic that has not already been established. It feels like a victory lap that was not warranted. Happy Ever After. Crazy to see this as a model episode and not a hit era episode. Strange. Middle Engine. Also pretty iconic for how shit it is. Ari and Bert going from the most sinister characters in the entire series to dumb stoners is painful. Donald's Duck. Whatever, dude. I don't know. It's lame. I don't know, man. Fight me in the comments. Tell me to kill myself. I'll put another season 3 episode this slow. James and the Red Balloon. This remake of the iconic French short film is a major pass. So many better James episodes. Percy's Chocolate Crunch. You bro musty as hell. Get your ass clean. James goes buzz buzz. I swear I fuck with James. Funny bee animation, I like that. I don't know, I'd rather watch hyper-realistic stories that are almost boring at times. A big surprise for Percy. Probably the weakest Percy episode I can think of. If not, definitely one of them. I love the little green dumbass, but only when something actually happens in the episode. The Trouble with Mud. Guys, I don't know what y'all see in some of these season 3 episodes, for real. James and the Trouble with Trees. If watching season 5 in order, this episode feels so out of place. An homage to the Railway series with gorgeous production design and weather design, but falls flat because of how anticlimactic it is. The World's Strongest Engine. Pretty decent comedy, but the really ugly color grading in season 6 kills it for me. Diesel getting owned is great and all, but it's really ugly looking. Henry big broing Diesel at the end though is pretty awesome. Gordon and the Famous Visitor. City of Truro reference is really good. Love the adaptation from the Railway series. It's pretty loyal to it. Maybe just a little bit more forgettable, but you can't go wrong with like a classic Gordon story like this. The Tender Engines. Gordon the Goat No Cap. Love these smaller episodes where the engines just fuck with each other and act like total haters.
I know, said Duck. It's boiler ache. It's not boiler ache, protested Gordon. Of course it is.
No Joke for James. A James episode that I feel would have been more successful if done in season 1. I feel as though the aesthetic and limitations of season 1 would have made stories like this one way more engaging. Bah. Funny Sheep. I think we need to acknowledge that despite how phenomenal season 5 is, that there are equally some real skips. This would be one of them. Thomas Percy and the Mail Train. This is an awesome remake of the iconic documentary Night Mail. Love the atmosphere and tone of the episode. Thomas excels best in that regard. Thomas gets bumped. I remember expecting a sick crash in the episode as a kid, only to get blue-balled by reality. And that's not too much of a diss, honestly, because I think Thomas excels best when it covers reality. James and the Queen of Sodor. Love the design for the Queen, and the humor hits, even though it's mad repetitive. I can get behind it to an extent. It's definitely better than previous entries in season 7. Whistles and Sneezes. I hate putting a season 1 episode this low. Season 1, despite its massive limitations, is so consistent. This episode is genuinely funny. Henry getting payback on some shitty kids is awesome. Fuck those kids, so fuck with them back. This episode taught me as a kid that it's okay to fuck with people, if they fuck with you first. Harvey to the Rescue. Usually episodes in the last 2 seasons that introduce a new character are severely forced and uninteresting. It's sort of forced in this episode since Harvey is barely in any episodes after this. For what it's worth though, this episode succeeds because of how fucking pissed Birdie gets from Percy's crash, and also how Thomas's true character development is shown. Thomas would never act like this in seasons 1 or 2. Really makes me appreciate how far he has come as a real character going through a series-long character arc of maturing. Something I feel like no kid shows, or some shows even do in general, especially like cartoons. Gordon and Spencer. Chad versus Chad. Spencer is literally me. He's the looks-maxing engine. Thomas and the Jet Engine. If I haven't sounded insanely hypocritical already, then I'm probably gonna sound even worse after saying how much I love when Thomas gets super realistic and grounded in reality, only to say how much this unrealistic fucking episode goes so hard. Time for Trouble. When does the trouble happen, dude? I'm waiting. Bulgy rides again. The fact that in season 7 they decided to bring back Bulgy feels hopeful, even if it's for a cash grab. He goes through a wholesome little arc that I can't ignore and not appreciate. Bullseye. Daisy deserved more. I do prefer her season 2 arc where she honestly does not develop at all and acts as a static bitch, but her confrontation with the bull is genuinely funny. Daisy's mad underrated. I know they finally revive her in season 20, which I do give mad respect to. Mind That Bike. How the fuck was this the finale for season 4? Wild. Yet still good. Percy and the Haunted Mine. I'm pretty sure this episode is bad. The gnome twist is kind of lame. I know it's a kid show, but the atmosphere and set design keeps me interested and revisiting on occasion. Love Percy too, always.
The old buildings are collapsing into empty mine shafts, that's all. But I saw the gnomes, protested Percy. Of course you did, said Sir Topham Hatt. Garden gnomes. Garden gnomes?
Edward's brass band. This episode succeeds because of how it reminds me of a good season 2 episode. A sick crash scene and a redemption at the end for the homie Edward. What more could you ask for an episode about him? Percy proves a point. Lamer version of Thomas's race with Bertie, sorry not sorry. Thomas and the Conductor. This episode is a pinnacle for season 1, though it's one of the less good episodes of the season. It still succeeds because of how well Britt Allcroft takes advantage of the small budget of the first season. It's such a simple story and so early in Thomas's character development, showing his super humble beginnings. He's flawed and makes mistakes like a newbie would.
Where have you been, lazy bones? Oh dear, my system is out of order. No one understands my case. You don't know what I suffer. Rubbish, said Thomas. You're too slow. You need exercise.
Not so hasty cakes. Remember when I said Elizabeth provided literally nothing to the story?
Just the introduction of a character who contributes literally nothing to the series.
I probably exaggerated that a bit, and you can yell at me in the comments about it. Because this episode is really good. The set design is what makes this one so enjoyable and fun. The spotless record. Another example of Thomas maybe being a dick, but then making amends by the end. I wish Arthur was utilized more. His model is also sick. A great way to introduce a new character so late without feeling so forced. Down the Mine. Oh yeah, I went there. It's a classic for sure, but has become stale with time, and later seasons taking these types of stories to a much higher level of quality and storytelling. It's great to see the end of the season-long Thomas Gordon arc where the two finally come to terms with each other. That's probably the best part of the episode, but you have to get through a whole season's worth of development to really understand the weight of how important Thomas and Gordon becoming homies is.
Okay, further clarifying though, I think that's also what makes this episode so good, is that you get to watch this episode near the very end of all of season 1, which is just a constant overarching story, fully ending with the two main characters of that season, Thomas and Gordon finally coming to terms with each other after being kind of enemies the entire time. Anyways, I just figured to clarify that. This episode is very good, don't get me wrong, it's just going to be lower on this list.
Gordon takes a dip. Same opinions apply as Down the Mine. It's good, but there are so many better episodes. Gordon's season 1 arc, sort of coming to an end and only to be reignited in later seasons, kind of kills the importance of this episode for me. Oliver the Snow Engine. Super underrated episode. Love the set design and a fun choice to have Oliver be the main character of this story. Better late than never. Maybe I overrate this episode a bit, but the season 2 aesthetic is just so nice and sweet. A really tame story that I am sure would be lower if it weren't for part of my favorite season, being season 2. Thomas and Percy's Mountain Adventure. Exciting story that is surprisingly about Thanksgiving.
It's nearly Thanksgiving, and I'll bring you lots of letters and parcels.
Salty Stormy Tale. One of the few exceptions from the regression flaw. Thomas and Percy are such assholes in this, but I think it works for once despite being so late, especially in Thomas's development. It makes Salty feel more human, especially since at the time he was still a pretty new character. He's still fresh meat, so naturally the dudes who have been around for a while will fuck with him. Also, Salty can be mad annoying, so I totally get it. The sets during the storm scene are gorgeous too, and probably one of the Salty's best moments aside from his introduction. One Good Turn. Another super whatever episode. A shame that it stars some favorites of mine. More so just mid build up to a later episode. Oliver's Find. All of her episodes are pretty average post season 4. This episode is a really cool throwback with fan service, but aside from that, it's a little shallow. A Scarf for Percy. Probably the most annoyed I have been with Percy in any episode. Like, dear God, shut up about a dumb scarf, you're a fucking train.
My funnel's cold, he puffed. I want a scarf. Percy gave him...
Thomas, Percy, and the Dragon. Love the nighttime sets, always, and the sign of maturity in Thomas. Very adolescent era. It's fun. Not one I revisit often, if ever, though. Common for season 3, unfortunately. I really struggled with a lot of season 3 stories. Despite how realistic the stories are, there really feels like something is missing compared to seasons 1 or 2. Percy, James, and the Fruitful Day. Same opinions apply. I wish I liked season 3 episodes more. This episode is it's good, but I'm just not rewatching it. Percy's Promise. It's a total classic. Love the use of water in the sets. I say this especially as season 3 was a huge shift in applying water to the set design. Great redemption story for my homie Percy. Trust Thomas. Feels like a callback to season 1. Great crash sequence, maybe a little too intense with Thomas being such an innocent dude when bro by now has plotted so many times in the past, but I'll let it slide. Lady Hat's birthday party. Really unique and fun episode featuring the human characters as opposed to the trains. Love the use of the road vehicle characters too, like George and Caroline. Fun little story. Diesel does it again. Reigniting the beef between Duck and Diesel is great. Twin Trouble, buffer bother, but way better. Special attraction. The first half is literally whatever, but damn, Bulstrode got fucking bodied. Sir Topham Hatt's Holiday. This one is a grower for sure. Took a while for this one to really click. I put this human episode over Lady Hat's birthday party simply because I think the humor with Tiger Moth nails more in my opinion. Structure of the episode is super similar though to the other human episode. Thomas and the Search for Fergus. Honestly, a weaker version of a better episode that you will see much higher up on this list. If you know, you know. I may have shit on Fergus in his episode with Bill and Ben, but seeing the bastard in serious despair made me root for Diesel, honestly. Oh, boohoo, bro, Diesel fucked with you and gave you a spook with Ari and Bert? Love. Thomas and Stepney. In my opinion, one of the more underrated episodes. Love Thomas's jealousy. It's so petty and even relatable sometimes. Really sweet, simple episode. A great example of a super simple story done really well. All at Sea. Great closure to Duck's season-long arc. I know this one is a huge favorite for Die-Hard fans. Just goes to show how many great episodes there truly are in this series. Tenders and Turntables. Great setup to a really good story arc in the latter half of season 1. Really picks up the season's pace. This episode alone has some genuinely solid humor. James's turntable scene still holds up a lot given the limitations with budget. Daisy. Another really underrated season 2 episode. Daisy is so static and I love it. There's no moral or resolution at the end of the episode, which I love. Daisy is also just real as fuck in my opinion.
Feeble? Spluttered Daisy. Let me...
New friend for Thomas. It's good. Thomas becomes dogs with Trevor, who is already a alright character as is. Begins and ends. No complaints. Saved from Scrap. A better Trevor episode because it's the series' introduction to Scrap, or, well, death in the canon of the trains. Busy going backwards. It's just genuinely funny. By George. A mixed bag. A bit of filler, but mixed in with hilarious yet warranted closure. Jack jumps in. A fun spin-off episode. This and A Friend in Need are the only ones going in the ranking, by the way. Jack and the Pack are fun as hell, even if it's just a reskin. Jack's mentality of jumping in and how that can be a bad trait to have is really well executed, and actually a well-executed moral. Shoutout workplace drama. Gordon takes a tumble. In all honesty, this really doesn't work for Gordon. Gordon had already had his major crash that would develop him for the better. It's high up here just because I have managed to ignore that a better feud for Gordon already happened and was a way grander crash than the one in this episode. A Friend in Need. Great suspense at the end, even if it's obvious that Thomas will be fine. Jack's 2-episode character arc concludes in this episode too, which is great. It's not like Jack did everything right. He wins and he loses. Fish. Beautiful nighttime set design. I can't emphasize nighttime episodes enough. The low-angle shots make Henry feel all the more grand and powerful as he carries the Flying Kipper, aka the most cursed fucking train in the series, dear god. It's only snow. Literally just every Thomas Snow episode, but I'm not complaining. A bad day for Harold. Douchey-ass helicopter saw it coming. I'm sorry, I don't fuck with Harold that much. Percy should have been laughing at his dumb ass. Thomas Goes Fishing. Another classic. Holds up super well too. I love how simple the story is while also becoming super fucking dark.
Oh dear, groaned Thomas. I'm going to burst.
Salty's Secret. Thank God Salty is actually an interesting character to introduce compared to like Murdoch and Harvey. His dynamic between the twins and Mavis is great. The writing in this one is overall really strong. Salty's best. No Sleep for Cranky. Surprisingly really good comedy that holds up even as a 23-year-old. Thomas' humor is never like laugh out loud for me, but its charm and near subtlety is what makes it so effective. The scene where after Cranky realizes he's trapped with Salty, only for Salty to immediately start telling annoying ass stories works so well.
Luckily, no one was hurt. Except my ears, wailed Cranky. Salty spent all night telling tales of powerful storms, daring rescues, and brave little ships. And when the sun rose, he was still talking. And talking. And talking.
Maybe this is Salty's best.
Reminds me of a lonely old Grand Banks lighthouse keeper.
Thomas's Christmas Party. A really wholesome conclusion to season 1. It's super unrelated to any of the storytelling and canon of the first season, but for what it's worth, it is still really wholesome and sweet. Edward the really useful engine. Honestly, one of the more underappreciated episodes, especially for Edward. Not many Edward stories really hit after his huge character development throughout season 2. It's nice to see Edward in a really good place since those early episodes. If you don't know, Edward is one of the best written characters in the series, by the way. Percy and the Signal. Great for how it sets up Percy in season 2 to be a total shithead. He's honestly worse than Thomas from season 1 at times. The payback he receives, though, is warranted and super well done. It's simple mental manipulation and lying from Gordon, and that's all it has to be. I love how it isn't something so dramatic or in your face, just manipulation on how a signal should be understood as. Thomas, Percy, and Old Slow Coach. Thomas doesn't do fire all too often, so when there is a fire, it's always a spectacle. Toby the Tram Engine. Toby's introduction in season 1 comes at the perfect time. It's the start of the last major arc in the season, and completely focuses on just Toby and Henrietta. New locations, new sets, and the sole focus on one new character who becomes one of the most well-remembered and important characters in the entire series. When Toby says,
Nobody wants me.
fuck, man. It's a really sad story with the subtle build-up for what's to come with Toby in the last act of season 1. Thomas gets tricked. What a great first episode to any series. Perfectly introduces the true characteristics of Thomas. He's a cheeky little shit, and he loves fucking with the bigger engine, Gordon. Thomas isn't this perfect little wholesome tank engine at the very beginning of the series. He's introduced as an immature, friendless prick who taunts and fucks with everyone. His dynamic with Gordon at the beginning of the series is iconic. They work together so well. Gordon and Thomas both have their own flaws, and seeing them express these flaws against each other throughout the season is great. Gordon's way of paying Thomas back is so simple too. He just doesn't give Thomas enough time to decouple from the Express, leading to a great climax. Hilarious and of course super charming, an amazing way to introduce two of the main characters and the charm of this entire series. Henry to the rescue. The happy ending to Come Out Henry, that had to come out despite how well done the ending of Come Out Henry is. Come Out Henry. Henry, too much of a baby to ride in the rain, so he hides in a tunnel. Only for a human gang to be like, okay, nope, you want to be in there, then you staying in there. No happy ending. I love the ambiguity of this episode's ending a lot. Great writing altogether. Thomas breaks the rules. Thomas and Toby really said fuck 12 before it was cool, huh? I love the payoff and link between this and the Toby episode being set up. Thomas's confrontation with the policeman is hilarious, as it really shows how clueless and innocent Thomas is in season 1. Topham Hatt's scenes are also great, showing a lot of his personality.
Bother that telephone.
Shoutout his butler too.
Excuse me, sir. You're wanted on the telephone.
Trouble in the Shed. Percy's first episode.
Let's go.
The Shed strike in season 1 feels kind of underrated as an arc in the several story arcs that happen in season 1. Topham's direction to getting a new pilot is done really well because of how it's established now that Thomas is busy with his branch. The three big engines become a sort of light antagonist, while Edward becomes more and more of a victim than he already was.
Hissing rudely. Bless me, said Sir Topham Hatt. What a noise. They all hiss me, sir, answered Edward. They say tender engines don't shunt.
A better view for Gordon. One of the best crashes ever, you already know. Damn, Topham Hatt and gang got fucked up. Classic Gordon behavior too, and Alec Baldwin's voices shine so well in this episode.
There's this tank engine called James. And clearly you made James gay.
Oh my goodness! What was that?
Bad Day at Castle Lock. Not the creepiest episode by a mile, and clearly dumbed down for a child audience. It's season 7 after all. The choice of the Scottish twins in this episode are great, and the nighttime scenes are so pretty. Though the suspense is really weak and the twist is, well, kinda lame, I still find myself revisiting this episode over a large majority of other season 7 episodes. Toby Had a Little Lamb. Hugely underrated Toby episode. Great snowy sets for this one too. Really ambitious story to tell in the 4.5-minute format, but surprisingly done well. Thomas meets the Queen. The true conclusion to the Thomas and Gordon arc. It comes full circle as Gordon pulls the Queen's coaches and Thomas and Gordon's alliance comes in a full circle moment. Gotta love the scene with Henry and the paint can too. Gordon is at his best here. Such a great adaptation of the story from the Railway series. Henry Special Cole. Henry's arc in season 1 is probably one of the most important arcs in all of Thomas. I love how this show can genuinely feel hopeless for a character while still being targeted for kids. It's honest. It makes Henry's redemption only better and more impactful. Thomas and Bertie's Great Race. Iconic is probably an understatement. Bertie's theme is so catchy and it fits the low stakes yet still high stakes innocent race the two vehicles have. It's innocent and youthful, which perfectly encapsulates one of the core themes of season 1. Just two friends, or maybe acquaintances. Thomas wasn't really the nicest guy around in the early days, having some fun while they work. Foolish Freight Cars. This is going to seem very weird, but James's arc in season 1 is honestly really good. The episode opens with James being scolded from the previous episode. James learns a lesson, and how he has a lot to prove so he doesn't get sent away. Yet even with these stakes, James still struggles to be patient even with freight cars. He likes to live life on the edge. Wrong road. The humor in this is actually laugh out loud funny this time. I've been saying before a few times now that the humor is just really charming and fun, which allows it to be funny. This time though, it's actually funny. I be hitting the bong laughing to this shit. Gordon confiding in Boko and begging him for help from the twins is too good. Bill and Ben are at their funniest when their chaotic evil energy shines. Pure little demons. Boko is a great father figure to them. R.I.P. Duncan. Very strong season 6 episode. It's still no season 4 narrow gauge episode, but having Duncan get wiped in a crash as good as this is great. Can't go wrong. Classic Duncan. Something fishy. Arthur's best and a really great showing for Thomas too. I really cannot get behind most of season 7, if you couldn't tell already. This episode though sticks out so well. Arthur is executed so well as an actual character, and his arc with Thomas over this and Spotless Record is honestly really refreshing. Love how this feels like a climax of Thomas's ongoing gag of hating fish too. Henry and the Elephant. Another pretty well-regarded one, but with the streak of episodes that came before it, this one feels like major filler. Still very entertaining and great use of using Henry, especially with the tunnel. A proud day for James. George Carlin's narration, specifically too. The banter between James and Gordon is hilarious and ends on a great note for this smaller arc in season 1.
Hello, Gordon. Is it tomorrow? Gordon didn't answer. He just let off steam feebly. Did you lose your way, Gordon? No, it was lost for me. I was switched off the main line onto the loop. I had to go all round and back again. Perhaps it was instinct.
Thomas and the Missing Christmas Tree, one of my favorite season finales. It brings a bunch of character arcs together, including Donald and Douglas's, and even one last miserable accident for Thomas. Almost like a light remake of Thomas's Christmas Party that takes the faults of that episode and takes it to another level. Probably the best Christmas episode too. Oliver owns up. Sick crash, and the decision to make Oliver flawed as hell at first is great. The climax in the end is not too high scale, but subtle enough to be exciting. Bulgy. The focus on Duck and Oliver makes this episode stick out more. Rather than focusing on like Thomas and Percy for a bazillionth fucking time, this episode allows to not just be about Bulgy, but also fill in some character development for the two great westerns, which I think was super prevalent, especially in season 3. Jack Frost. I feel like I may be one of the few people who would rank this episode especially this high. Percy scaring James shitless is hilarious, and I love the dark, stormy production design. It's so bare and unfriendly. Mavis. What makes Mavis stick for me is her dynamic with Toby.
Having trouble, Mavis? Gosh!
She means well, but she's a bitch, and I love it. It makes Mavis as a character stick out as a layered character, and not just a one-dimensional cash grab, diesel, whatever. Her fighting with Toby and constant bickering is very entertaining. It's clear how much more layered she is compared to most of the other Diesels in the series. While Diesel is completely bad and Boko is completely good, Mavis is a gray area. That gray area gets examined and confirmed in Toby's Tightrope. I love this episode just a little more than Mavis because of how it wraps up her short story arc in a sensible direction and really showing her good intentions with her work. The set design is also gorgeous. The running water and bridge set piece is sick. Also a great perspective to get a veteran like Toby into an accident when he's usually seen as the wiser engine on Thomas's branch. The Runaway. I feel like a lot of people also wouldn't rank this episode as high. It's weak as hell compared to other Thomas accident stories, but something about it is so classic and fun. Harold's involvement in saving Thomas is really well done. The editing in the Runaway sequence is exciting. Honestly surprised how often I don't hear this one get talked about. Toby and the Windmill. Surprisingly exciting and fun for season 7. The storm scene with the windmill falling is amazing. Duck takes charge.
Montague, sir, but I'm usually called Duck.
Another light remake, almost a Trouble in the Shed kind of. I love how Percy is now in the role Edward was in season 1 to an extent. Duck's no bullshit attitude is so great. It adds such a great twist in the narrative instead of him being a shy newbie. He's comfortable as hell when he arrives at Sodor, already fucking with the bigger engines and making it known that no one will be intimidating him. Birdie's Chase. Rare Birdie episode, and it's super fun. His chase with Edward is so funny, even if it's admittedly a bit repetitive. Also, can't ignore that fire song Edward's conductor sings at the beginning.
Oh dear, what can the matter be? Johnny's so long, and never you mind about Johnny.
Terrence the Tractor. The introduction to Thomas's hatred for the snow. A really fun first major crash, unless you count James's from earlier in the season. Thomas is so immature and naive in this episode. He's so young-spirited. I just really love the early stages of Thomas's character. James learns a lesson. As I have said, the season 1 James arc is really underrated. Even if James is a mess kind of ruins the 3-episode arc, I still think there is something to enjoy about this episode, Foolish Freight Cars, and A Proud Day for James. This episode is the strongest of the 3 because of how negative James is shown as a character. It's like 2 mini stories in one episode, not even ending on a good note. Sure, James was able to finish the train, but at the cost of passengers beefing with each other and making a dude use his bootlace to fix the coaches. To be fair though, the guy with the bootlace was not being chill about it at all. If it was me, I would have been down. Double teething troubles. This is how you do Bill and Ben banter. Great physical comedy, and bro, you can't tell me Derek didn't have like some type of train, diesel, IBS, I don't know. Bro was shitting himself. Also, rest in peace, Boko. You can't win. Love the twist where Duke actually shows his age and the 2 young engines have to help him out instead of getting put in their place. They are an odd but tight family. Train stops play. For some reason, I used to hate this episode. I don't know why specifically. It's really sweet and lighthearted. Carlin's narration especially, with Stephanie's theme music, is great. Toad stands by. Oliver becomes a fucking badass and rips a truck in half to make a statement that he is to not be fucked with. Cranky Bugs. One of the best introductions to a character in all of Thomas's history. Cranky is so damn original and genuinely funny. There's a reason why this episode is so well remembered. It's also such a landmark episode for Thomas as a maturing character. Topham finally comes full circle with Thomas and Percy by making amends with them, and Thomas has especially come a long way since the 4 seasons before Cranky Bugs. It's classic, it hits every time, great sequence with the boat. Cranky's an amazing character, you can't go wrong with this one. The Fog Man. An amazing use of haze and set design. The mountainy slopes look so good, and the season 6 muted color palette actually works in this episode. The less saturated colors make the setting blend and allow for the audience to really get the engine's perspective as they drive through this honestly kind of creepy setting. Edward helps out. Edward's first episode and really encapsulates his character perfectly for many episodes to come. Watching this episode and then seeing how much he has grown as a character makes me appreciate the writing of Thomas so much more. If you couldn't realize, I love it when Thomas actually develops its characters and not leave them as just one-dimensional walking elves. Horrid Lori. Repetitive, but another great sign to come with how rich some of these original stories can be. The Loris are such underrated villains. They aren't even as malicious as the Diesel's intention of taking over the steam engines. Their lack of depth makes it all the more funny seeing them get all sorts of fucked up. Like, goddamn, the one that drives off a cliff? How the hell did that dude survive with just a bump on his head?
Rotten roads.
Something in the air. Again, the flying kipper, man. Cursed as hell. Henry is such a douche in this episode. He almost doesn't feel like himself. I just love how toxic the engines get sometimes, even with their character changes and the things they go through. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This episode, it totally works for Henry. He's a dick in this episode. It makes them feel much more fleshed out and, I guess, human, even though they are fucking trains. It's just so nice seeing Henry be really unlikable to then get completely bodied in a body of water. Henry's Forest. I'm not sure why Wilbur Audrey was such a hater for this episode. It's really sweet. I get it. Trains shouldn't like forests. They're trains. But you know what? They're talking trains, bro. If you thought it was unrealistic for Henry to love the forest, then let's be happy he hasn't seen the shit like Henry and the Wishing Tree. Trouble for Thomas. Another major classic. Thomas is being a little bitch and wants to see the world.
I want to see the world.
So Edward offers him to take his freight cars tomorrow. Thomas, being the immature dumbass he is, says yes and gets totally hazed, like a young pledge going into his frat. Also, for some reason, I think I fuck with the old Thomas troublesome truck designs. It's not the superior design, but something about it is very memorable and nostalgic for me. Percy runs away. He's so innocent and dumb. The actual runaway scene will stay in my head until I die. I have that shit memorized since I was like 3. The runaway music too is nothing short from amazing. Carlin does young Percy so well too.
I want to stop! I want to stop!
Thomas comes to breakfast. Big Dog gets bodied in this one. Literally just ignored the fact how this could have happened. I love how the crash isn't at the end of the episode and we see the consequences of the crash, which slowly becomes less and less common in crash scenes. Like, think for a second, realize how lucky the station master's family was from not dying. His wife deserved to be as mad as she was.
You miserable engine! Just look what you've done to our breakfast. Now I shall have to cook some more.
Thomas saves the day. Major moment for Thomas. Getting his branch line feels almost like the true beginning of his story arc, and making these first few episodes feel kind of like a prologue. It makes perfect sense showing Thomas's other side than just being a dick and being like a good person. Percy gets it right. I wish the plot where Percy is finally taken seriously was done with a little more scale, but regardless, as is, I think this goes well against some season 1 and 2 episodes. I mean, obviously it's ranked this high. Really brings back that dynamic between Thomas and Percy that I loved in season 2. It's so sweet, and the mountainside set design is eerie and isolated and has this nice fog and weather going on. It helps too that Michael Brandon isn't at his worst here. Heroes. God, the climax of this episode is timeless and amazing. The quarry avalanche and destruction is executed so well. The suspense of getting everyone out is genuinely investing and claustrophobic. The score that follows the quarry destruction is so good too.
Twins left the quarry just in time.
Bill and Ben get the justice they deserve. They are more than just two clowns. Peter Salmon, the refreshment lady. Wholesome story. It just works. It's part of the classic era of narrow gauge episodes. I don't really have too much to say. I just never skip it, so I feel like it just warrants being this high. Thomas and the Special Letter. A frequent narrative I have been forming in this video is Thomas's maturity throughout the first 5 seasons, yada yada yada. I feel like I've said it a million times now. I see this episode as truly the death of immature Thomas. He's such a different character after this crash, I feel, at least in my canon. I don't know about y'all. I'm not even trying to exaggerate. I know this is a kid's show, but like, Thomas is treated with so much more maturity and significantly less naivety. Sure, Thomas still does dumb shit in later seasons. I'm not counting the hit era as canon, sorry. Has to do something with probably his worst accident, which almost caused him to miss out on going on tour. It also helps that this episode is just good. Pop goes the Diesel. Major episode for the canon as dieselization is introduced. Diesel's introduction marks the ongoing narrative about the decommissioning of steam engines. The context makes Diesel's intro all the more problematic and heavy. Makes his dialogue all the more sinister too.
We know everything. We come to a yard and improve it. We are revolutionary.
Making Duck be the one to face Diesel and not Thomas is a nice choice too, seeing as Duck is a brand new character at this time as well. Shows to me how Britt Allcroft and David Mitton actually cared about every character they introduced at the time and wanted to make sure they were all utilized and gone through their own arcs. They could have very easily just not adapted Wilbur Audrey's exact story and replaced Duck with Thomas because it's Thomas, but they don't. Duck trolling Diesel at the end of this creates a dynamic that leads on to one of the best arcs of season 2. A cow on the line. I think anytime I sit down and watch episodes of Thomas, this episode finds its way in the queue every single time. I always gravitate to this little story for some reason. Can't help but enjoy watching Edward win. Bowled Out. A absolute classic.
Not bad.
I don't know how you could hate this one. The new Diesel is hilarious. His introduction is so brief and evil, I love it. He could be a stand-up comic, I swear.
It's not your fault, but Sir Topham Hatt should scrap you and get engines like me.
Stepney and Duck's dynamic is amazing as well. Percy takes the plunge. I think if I had to choose an engine with the most consistent crashes or accidents, it's Percy. The guy got fucked up all the time. Riding into the ocean being something he low-key deserved for being so up his ass. James in a mess. Makes the other James episodes feel lesser in comparison. James is ageist towards Toby and then gets utterly owned by the trucks. A big day for Thomas. The quintessential fucking Thomas episode. I swear, this could be higher. This arguably should be higher. I don't know. This is like one of the best episodes, bro. I swear. These are like straight 10s coming. Alright, anyways. If you want to know who Thomas is as a character, then look no further than this episode. This is who he is in a perfect summary. It's so imperative that anyone who wants to get into fucking Thomas the Stupid Tank Engine either watch this episode or, well, just watch, I don't know, the first episode. You get the point. The setup for this episode is great, leaving hints to Henry's illness, which is then further explored in season 1, and how we will hopefully overcome it later. I also love that. Just little things like that. You can tell the writers were setting up side stories for all the individual characters in the series, entire arcs earlier. It really adds depth to the series and not making every episode feel like just like a one-off. Second is Thomas's arc in the episode. He doesn't entirely change. By the end, he's getting laughed at and made fun of by the other engines. Old Iron. Huge episode. Oh my god. I love the rescue scene with Edward and James. Another case of James being ageist and the old engine having to save him immediately after. It's actually intense how they edit this. I love the close shots and tight filmmaking, which makes these toy trains actually feel like real ones in crisis. Diesel's devious deed. The direction in this sequel to Pop Goes the Diesel goes in so smart. Making Diesel manipulate the 3 big engines into hating Duck is a mix of not surprising, but also even a little surprising. This a nice choice too, just leaving things open to what's gonna happen next. Woolly Bear. Underrated Percy episode. Percy really didn't deserve it too bad, but damn, karma a bitch. Thomas is ruthless in this episode.
Talk about hairy caterpillars, Puff Thomas. It's worth being late to have seen you.
Percy even wanted to clean up before Toby came, and the narrator was like, nah, Thomas already told that fool.
Instead of talking about sensible things like playing ghosts, Thomas and Toby made jokes about woolly bear caterpillars and other creatures which crawl about in hay.
Sleeping Beauty. I know, this should probably be higher. Just realized we're like in major goat territory right now. Duke's story is one of the greatest in all of Thomas. If you haven't seen the first few episodes featuring Duke in season 4, you're missing out. Grand Puff. This is usually the Duke episode. Makes perfect sense too. In a perfect world, Duke's story would have been like a 30-minute movie, I don't know. The fall of his railway and the unknown fate of Smudger are such great points in the story. And to establish and develop 4 new characters in an entirely new setting in 4.5 minutes is very commendable and a huge risk to take, which paid off. The Diseasel. Bill and Ben still haven't topped this one. Their first real premiere because I'm not counting their cameo and Percy takes the plunge. The twins fucking with Boko is seriously funny as an adult. I'd be ripping the bong watching this episode and it's still fucking gas. I don't care, maybe I'm a child at heart. Rusty to the rescue. The shot of Rusty and Stephanie riding through down the bridge past the moon, God. Literally a John Ford movie, bro. It's just a shame this is a near clone of another episode that is coming up. Steamroller. Choosing Sir Handel to be the one to deal with George is great. They are both assholes for their own reasons, so their verbal conflict between each other is just way funnier.
I don't move for imitation steamrollers. You don't know the road. Get out of my way.
George comes off so strong though. Like damn, he pulled no punches at Sir Handel. Their beef getting so bad that a minor accident happens and pissing passengers off is so deserved and entertaining and great. A bad day for Sir Handel. A really negative episode. It's kind of wild to think how once he became Sir Handel and no longer Falcon, he became worse than he was on Duke's Railway. It also only gets worse for Sir Handel too. Percy's predicament. It's easy to forget this is part of a light trilogy of episodes, this being the semi-conclusion to it. The trilogy being Thomas Comes to Breakfast, Daisy, Percy's predicament. Percy gets scolded for his accident, Daisy gets called out for her behavior in her introduction episode, and Thomas finally returns to his branch. It brings the drama from the branch all together, wrapped with a nice crash scene that I think is better than the one in Percy Takes the Plunge. Sir Topham Hatt is ruthless in this one too. Escape. Maybe the most important episode of Thomas as like a genuinely great solo narrative. Put in the context of the entire series, this episode does a lot. It confirms that Diesel's message about being the engines to decommission steam is true. Oliver is one of the many engines who were sent to get scrapped while the Diesels took over. I know this is a kid's show. I know, but let me overthink and take this show too seriously. Everything about this episode is pretty perfect. The parallels of Douglas and Oliver with Edward and Trevor and how Douglas was also saved from scrap by Topham Hatt. It's a more dramatic and investing story about escaping scrap. Literally my life a movie core. Trusty Rusty. Yeah, I think I am maybe the only person ever to put this episode so high. I put this episode significantly higher than like Down the Mine, Gordon Takes a Dip, a lot of episodes. This episode is a great callback to the era where Duncan had huge beef with Rusty. Duncan really doesn't get the best luck with bridges at all. Put upon Percy.
Percy's been put upon. Percy's been put upon, poor old Percy.
The latter half is so wild, dear God. It goes from 0 to 100 so fast. Also, Packwatch to Scruffy, goddamn. Toby's discovery. Once you mature and realize that the first half of this episode is actually amazing world building and necessary is when you can say that this is one of the best. Not just for the second half. Of course, that second half is some of the best spooky scenes in Thomas, but that first half has so much fan service and world building with Topham Hatt and Toby. The fog scenes at night are genuinely creepy as well. Double Trouble. Such a good introduction for season 2, man. Captures Thomas and Percy's friendship as something to expect more this season, with Toby as a chaotic evil medium.
Toby thought it a great joke.
The 2 accidents the engines have are hilarious, and goddamn, they are mean to each other at first. The fact that future writers managed to warp this beef into, like, best friends is hilarious to me. Honestly, average guy friendship. Like, these 2 were seriously rage-baiting each other, like, constantly, especially in this episode.
I've always been green. I wouldn't want to be any other color either. Well, anyway, huffed Thomas, blue is the only color for a really useful engine. Everyone knows that.
The Deputation.
A depot station.
My dumbass at 4 did not know what a deputation was.
It's when engines tell Sir Topham Hatt something's wrong.
Donald and Douglas. I wish the twins had more episodes that were as good as their season 2 ones. Both Donald and Douglas's accidents are super fun and exciting. Packwatch Northwestern Brick Van. a close shave for Duck. Yeah, season 2 rules, man. Amazing conclusion to the Duck and Diesel trilogy. The runaway is genuinely intense, as Duck is, instead of chasing after the trucks are chasing him. Despite the really rushed ending to the Duck and Diesel conflict, with Diesel kind of getting booted off screen.
I never believed Diesel, so I sent him packing.
This episode is still great. I can't get over it enough. Snow. Super good Skarloey episode that I feel not enough people talk about. The set piece is super cool. The tracks through a giant cliff are really sick. The avalanche scene is also really cool. The turning point where they reveal how the workers survived was cute too, despite the fact that if I were them, my first thing to do would not be making cocoa. I'd be bugging, or like freezing to death. Gallant old engine. Rheneas deserves so much better, like I said at the beginning of the ranking. This episode makes him out to be one of the best engines on Sodor. He's the second oldest on the railway. His story is so good, and his return is even better. I always wished he was in more stories. Good ones, at least. Passengers and polish. Season 4 Duncan was something else, man. I'll just let this one roll out.
All this extra work, grumbled Duncan. It wears an engine out. Keep your old station. I'm staying here.
Hater energy, man. Edward's exploit. The episode of all time, as many would say. It's obvious why this is most people's favorite episode. I feel like I see a lot of people put this like number 2, number 5, like top tier. One of the most beloved characters gets the justice he deserves, ending the best character arc in the entire series, at least in the show. Gordon still gets the best in the Railway series. I hype up how much I love Thomas's arc throughout the series, but Edward's season 2 arc is unreal. The setting with the hard rain and how dire of a situation Edward gets into only to save the train is great. It's not an overdramatic runaway story or about Edward saving another engine, which he's already done. His aging gets in his way, and he starts breaking down, but he manages to pull his train together while actively falling apart. What a goat.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Scaredy engines. Thomas gets gaslit by Duck into thinking ghosts are real. Best of season 6, hands down. Rock and roll. Duncan is easily one, if not the most entertaining character in all of Thomas.
Send Rusty packing. Send Rusty packing. I know my way about. I don't need smelly diesels to tell me what to do.
He's a special kind of asshole, as he seemingly shows not many other traits. His dynamic with every narrow gauge engine is extremely bad, and he constantly gets himself in accidents or issues for being super reckless. He's just pure content. I can't get enough of him. 4 little engines. The way the narrow gauge engines were executed in season 4 is just incredible. It's such a huge risk, especially for a kid's show, to just completely wipe all the original main characters from the first 3 seasons for half of this season to be fully new characters. Huge risk with such a huge reward. The world building and timeline of Skarloey and Rheneas' very, very long history on Sodor is so good for the adult fandom and for anybody. I feel like this is what triggered me to like be into cool, expansive stories, you know? Episodes like 4 Little Engines is great, because it has several elements that makes rewatching this a whole new experience as an adult. Bulldog. Amazing set piece and easily my favorite Duke story. That cliff scene is just phenomenal. It's beautiful. You get some great angled shots that actually makes it feel like Falcon could fall off the fucking cliff. Haunted Henry. Unbelievable how creepy this manages to be while still being a kid's show. The final crash at the end is so creepy, and Old Bailey's line in general is just so haunting at night.
I'd like to operate that old station. If you let me, I promise I won't spook Henry again.
I could watch this episode anytime. Guaranteed, always in the rotation. Home at last. Skarloey's big return to the narrow gauge railroad and the introduction of Duncan.
Tunnels should be tunnels and not rabbit holes.
It's such a simple little narrow gauge episode that I go back to super often. So charming and sweet. The collars pop in season 4. Rusty helps Peter Sam. Best crash ever.
Hurrah! Hurrah! Roared the cars. Peter Sam shut his eyes.
Peter Sam gets done dirty. Peter Sam's damaged whistle and the fact that the injuries he retained in that accident involved permanent change for him really puts into perspective how bad crashes used to be in the classic series, before entire engines could fall off like, I don't know, a fucking cliff and then be fine 1 minute later. Special funnel. The way the weather changes in this episode is some of the best use of production design and weather design in a film or show. It is gorgeous. It is so beautiful. I am in awe how the set designers got it this fucking good with their like tiny miniature landscapes. The story is also really cute, which accompanies the set design so well. The most visually stunning episode and beautiful sets in the series. Perfection on all regards.
Peter Sam said again and again, his new funnel will put us to shame. Went into the tunnel and lost his old funnel. Now his famous new funnel's a drain.
Toby and the Flood. Hopeless Doomer Cinema, Thomas Edition. One of the most devastating and cruel episodes in the series, from Toby's conductor declaring they will probably die if they go further near a fucking waterfall.
If we go over that waterfall, we're doomed.
To the race against time of Percy and Harold actually working together to save Toby and his crew's life. Just perfect in every way. Doomer core. Percy's ghostly trick. It's a classic. Whenever I would be alone at night after maybe a few drinks, I have on multiple occasions put this episode on. So fun and innocent. The sets are beautiful, and I won't forget when I was a kid and genuinely afraid of the scene where Percy fucks with Thomas as a ghost. And also, damn, Thomas did not give a fuck when Toby told him about Percy getting in an accident.
Percy's had an accident, cried Toby. Poor engine, said Thomas. Botheration. That means I'll be late.
The Flying Kipper. The fact that season 1 has this many good episodes only for the Flying Kipper to still be leagues above all those other episodes is a triumph. This episode is perfection. From the setup of Henry carrying the train on a late winter evening to the most iconic and famous crash of the entire series, this is truly one of the greats and such a hard one to beat. Stepney gets lost. Still so scary. Probably the scariest episode of Thomas. I know the top 2 are also referred to as some of the spookiest, but Jesus Christ, this episode is dark. Stepney getting lost and suddenly reuniting with the scrapyard makes this feel all the more targeted and personal. It feels like Stepney is being hunted.
Got you this time, Stepney.
The reveal of the Diesels abducting him and leaving him for dead in the scrapyard is horrifying. And that claw scene...
But just as it was about to grab hold of him, it stopped.
Rusty and the Boulder. Literally do me a favor, and before we name number 1, just watch the episode compilation Spills and Chills. It literally covers most of the top 10 and 15, I believe. Rusty and the Boulder gets away with making this paranormal story enjoyable. This type of story is not meant to be this good in the world of Thomas. Thomas is very much grounded in reality. This sentient boulder attacking the engines is just so eerie. That explosion scene at the end has stuck with me since I was a young kid.
When Sir Topham Hatt inspected the damage, he decided to close the mine. Then he looked at Boulder. We should have left this part of the island alone. They moved Boulder to a hill close by the yards. Rusty is sure that on a clear night it is gazing up at the mountain and that its sides are being carried on the wind to where it once used to stand proud and silent. I wonder if Rusty is right. Don't you?
Duncan gets spooked. I often hear this one known as one of the best, and I think a lot of people will agree with me. I would hope that this is one of the best.
Fancy not securing your freight cars on a hill. They'll come back to spook you and your special funnel. Woo!
Rusty's ghost story is haunting as fuck. The slow motion of the poor engine falling to his death, never to be seen again, is such a visceral image for a kid's show. The build-up to the gaslighting of Duncan is so well done too. Not a second in this episode is wasted. It ends on Duncan traumatized and the viewer wondering if Duncan really did see something or if he was gaslit along with us. That's what is also so amazing. We never outright get 100% confirmation or an answer that it was his driver and fireman. This is why this is my favorite episode of Thomas the Tank Engine and has been like this for a very long time.
Ahead, he saw flickering lights. His driver knew they were only insects that shine brightly at night, but to Duncan they looked like an engine. Next, his driver secretly threw a rock from the cab into the ravine below.
It's the ghost! Take me back!
Also, Duncan's driver, that one shot at the end, spooked are you, Duncan?
Spooked are you, Duncan?
That's fucking scary, bro. That was a lot. I hope you got something out of it, whether you're raging in the comments because your favorite season 3 episode was ranked really low or because I have a silly sense of humor. I'm trying to make more stuff like this, so we'll see what comes next. Men in their 20s love watching arbitrary ranking videos while they eat dinner after all. For real, if you did get this far though, thank you.